The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience British Open picks, preview, bets, one and done, weather, tee times, plus all the updated odds that we're seeing following the John Deere Classic and the Scottish Open. Guess who's here? It's Geoff Fienberg.
How's it going, Pat?
Good. We're recording this for full disclosure because people like to watch the show after we've recorded the show. So you're low energy now. You're like
I'm good.
You're like low energy Jeb out here.
I'm good. I'm just sort of my overexposure to the week is kind of percolating through my brain.
So joining us a little bit later on to break down the updated odds, his plays, is the NYC punter himself, Russell Whalen. Props, gives out his one and done. We break down. And usually, because, listen, we've already kind of talked out what we like. A few things have changed, but it's nice to have the extra voice in there to being like, you guys are morons, especially like when it comes to some of my stuff and just giving a different opinion on that. So Russ will be coming up a little bit later on, but first, I need to talk about some giveaways and some winners. How about that? How about some winners to be perfect off the top? So this week, actually, if you give the episode a like, and you go into the comment section and leave your DraftKings handle. I'll give away the winners on Wednesday's show. Leave your favorite prop play along with your DK handle. That's one way to get some DK bucks on the go. Or leave an iTunes, Stitcher, whatever review, just a 5-star review, something nice about the show. Leave your DraftKings handle and boom, you're in the draw that way. Same as on Facebook for the sharing of everything like you can do on Twitter. You share it on Facebook. You share it on Twitter by retweeting, not quote tweeting, which automatically takes you out of it. Automatically, because I'm sick of seeing these fucking quote tweets appear on. Just give it a retweet. Just give it a retweet with your DraftKings handle after. Just reply to me, DraftKings handle, and the hashtag DKBrit2. And that way I can track it to get a winner. This week's winners: Hot Soup 14, Gilby 10, TJ_DFS, Blade 6, Evan Johnson 347, Greg Mile, BC Rucker 77, Jags 214, Nasty Headed, and MN Joker 00, all the winners of 20 DraftKings dollars. Hopefully the accounts have been credited as you are seeing this or hearing this. But if not, give it a day and I'll follow up on it to make sure all that stuff gets in there for you. Geoff, you gonna enter, try to win some DK bucks?
No, I'm okay.
You're okay?
I'll leave.
You don't need the buck? You're too big of a man to need the bucks?
No, I'm saying I'll leave it to the people and then, don't want to, any shenanigan accusations to come up, but week in, week out, you're dropping hundreds of dollars into people's accounts.
Yeah, giving away bucks. Trading bucks for likes.
Yeah, it's good. It's 2018. That's what you got to do.
So do you know who had a week this week at the John Deere Classic?
Michael Kim?
I was going to say members of FantasyNational.com, which I did. I'll announce the winner of the free year-long membership to Fantasy National at the end of this, but over $215,000, at least, because obviously I don't see everything, just what people tweet at me. $215,000 won at the John Deere Classic last week by members of Fantasy National. That's $1.6 million since the Masters. That's pretty good. So go to FantasyNational.com now, get all the stats, all the tools, very simple to use. You can check out the tutorials, even if it's just on a weekly basis. If you're going to enter more than $20 worth of lineups, the $8 weekly membership, probably something you want to look at. And you don't need to commit to the year now, just play the weekly. Get in, $8. You're going to play a Millionaire Maker lineup, it's even worth it to go do that. So I want to give some shout outs. Fantasy National member S. Gilbertson told me he won some life-changing money. That's how he put it, and that is probably the coolest thing I've ever experienced on Twitter. He won $21K.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Fantasy National member Chris Ferriter won a World Championship seat. That's worth almost $7,000. Fantasy National member Alex Remzegowski won $1,500. Matthew Osman won $7.5. Andrew Rodriguez, his first ever 4-figure payday, won $1,100. Kim Jong-il-matic tripled up his money, $180 to $460, almost tripled it. Hootie Winning broke through for his first time, almost missed a big score. Won over $2,200, 11th in the $5. That's one piece away from winning $100,000. That's amazing. Fantasy National member Eric Chason playing the low stakes with one lineup picked up almost $200 this week. It's pretty building your bankroll. That's huge.
That's pretty good return.
Yeah. And Pat Mayo experienced listener Cameron Schiffer entered $4,500 this week. Won $4,500. It's not bad. All in the $5 contest.
Pretty good.
And of course,
Hold on. How much did you say he entered?
$45. Won $4,500.
He said he entered 4,500 and won 4,500.
Broke even. Did better than I did at the John Deere Classic. Went all my money on the Euro side. But the big thing that we do need to point out, Fantasy National member, host of the Smash Factor podcast. He runs GupsCorner.com along with a crew of really great guys. They have a chat Wednesday nights before all the tournaments. It's free to go to on GupsCorner.com. You want to check it out. Gup won over $190,000 this weekend.
I'm blushing again.
He won the Thunderdome, he won the Pressure Putt, and won 2 World Championship tickets. That's amazing. That's like 3 weeks in a row. He was on the show 2 weeks ago, giving out the picks. And what a week to be in the higher, like, if there was ever a week to be in the higher stakes contest, this was the week.
A lot of overlay?
Well, I didn't play any high, like, I just played the $5 was the highest thing I entered, but I had a lot of Hadley, I had a lot of Stanley, and I had a lot of Bryson. And, you know, they all fucked off. So all my $5 teams were huge, like, were just basically finished. I did all right because all the middle tier guys, Burgoon and Dahman and Werner and Hearn, all those guys hit. But if I had played like the $444 or the $100, you know, those lineups still had a chance to win. 5 and 6 was fine in the high stakes this week because no one had Michael. I think it was 0% owned.
I'll say this. We would joke how the new tradition in golf is Ricky Fowler congratulating one of his friends on Sunday night for winning a tournament. It's more like the new tradition in my life is Sunday night sending Gup a message congratulating him on another amazing week. Good for him, good for his family. He's such good people. He doesn't just pocket every cent. He does great things.
He gives back. Gup's a great guy.
No, we're not just like blowing the horn here. It's the real deal.
Listen,
he might be the best, the nicest, most charitable guy in this game of golf Twitter community.
Listen, it's not like me to start throwing promos to other people's sites.
That
aren't on the show currently, but Gup's winning. He's a great guy, and his picks are free. GupsCorner.com, I highly recommend everyone check it out. And he's a Fantasy National member, so we like having him on the team over at FantasyNational.com. Just like we have the winner of the free membership. The winner, $200 value, a free membership. Account's already been credited. He just needs to DM me back. He doesn't DM me, so I need to set up his email, so he needs to DM me back immediately. But the winner is David at Illini Volfan1. You, sir, have won a free membership to Fantasy National for the year. All the tools, complete access. In fact, every single membership gives you complete tools. Weekly, monthly. There's no like specialty memberships. Lineup generator, event simulator, projections. You got the ownership projections, all the rolling stats, custom model, mixed condition model. It's helped me become a profitable DraftKings player. Obviously, it's helping a lot of people with 1.6 million won. So, good luck. Good luck, David. Hopefully you can ship some money here at the British Open. But I think we've talked about people who've won for long enough. Do you know who we need to talk to?
We do need to talk to him?
We need to talk to him very briefly, just to see who is ANDERCUSRED for the British Open. That man's name is Tim ANDERCUSRED.
Tim ANDERCUSRED.
That is not my name.
No, but you are here, sir, to deliver your pick so we know who not to take for the Open Championship. I mean, you just got a World Cup winner right, which means you're not due for another correct pick for like 3 months.
Well, then, you can fade them if you want, but I'm on a bit of a heater here with the World Cup. I'm making 3 of the 4 teams in the semifinals.
One correct pick now equals a heater, Geoff, by the way.
One.
It was like when he was riding a heater when he had 1 golf winner in a row.
See, 1 win is just like you won a game. You win 2 in a row, I guess that's back-to-back. 3, I guess, is a streak, right?
Is a heater, a semi-heater. And then, like, Gup is on a heater.
Yeah.
Tim just picked one thing right. And people are like, oh, is the curse broken? He now has 2 correct picks out of 500 predictions this year. So, Tim, your picks, please.
So, as always, at a major, I take 3 winners. The person with the 3rd most confidence I have is Jimmy Walker. The person with the 2nd most confidence is Jordan Spieth. And the person with the most confidence who I'll be picking in one and done is Matthew Fitzpatrick to win.
Geoff, Matthew Fitzpatrick.
He made this pick when we did our U.S. Open Friday cut sweat.
Well, he had already said he knew who was going to win the British Open. So
I would say of his 3 picks, this would be the one I have the most confidence in.
You would have more confidence in Matthew Fitzpatrick winning than Jordan Spieth? Really?
close.
Really? Listen, we're no Spieth fans, obviously, this week, but give me a break.
Tim, do you want to actually make a Matthew Fitzpatrick wager? I'll bet you Tyrrell Hatton plays better than Matthew Fitzpatrick this week.
Okay, we can discuss the stakes on that, but yeah.
Hatton, I believe, first round tee time is paired with like Kevin Na, I think. So he might just lose his mind on the course. Well, Kevin Na takes 20 minutes to play every stroke.
Na played his last round in under 4 hours.
It's impressive stuff. He's not in the last group anymore. But Tim, do you have any props before we let you go and get you back to your real life?
Yeah, I do have. I do have a couple of props.
One sec.
First,
Hold on. Is one of them no hole in one?
It is, and now to bet that it is, and I like to take some credit for this. It's now minus 120 to bet no. The last several majors, you've been getting plus money. People have been cleaning up over the last couple of years on this prop, and now the books are wise to it. And now it's still minus 120 to pick no. It's still free money. It is going to win. No one is getting a hole in one at Carnoustie. So yeah, that minus 120.
Now, hold on. You gave out that prop for the Masters for like 4 consecutive years, and it lost every time. It wasn't necessarily free money there, pal.
But it wins at every U.S. Open, every British Open, just about every PGA. So we're just going to keep riding that streak. It's cash cow.
He's overrating how long the streak must be, right?
Yeah, I think it happened at last year's PGA Championship, didn't it? Or did it happen at this year's Masters? It didn't, did it?
No, we just missed it, I think.
Yes, it did. No, the hole-in-one happened at the U.S. at the Masters. Yeah.
He's riding a heater, though. It's one in a row. Free money, though. Don't worry about it. All right, Continental European, you got one of those?
Yeah, RCB is plus 1,400. I think he's definitely the pick. He's definitely the top Continental European in this tournament.
You picked Matthew Fitzpatrick to win. I guess that wouldn't be Continental, would it?
He's not a Continental European.
So are you also going to bet Fitz like top Great Britain day?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So you have that little confidence that Rafa will win the tournament that you think he will be?
I don't think he's going to win. No, yeah, I don't think he's going to win. I think he'll be top 10, top 5. I think his game sets up nice to a place like Carnoustie. And, there's some massive guys who are overrated like John Rahm, who I think is going to miss the cut. So, you're getting some value taking RCB.
All right, anything else? So John Rahm to miss the cut, that's one of your bets?
We had a parlay.
Well, yeah.
Of my guys
I don't
to
see
miss the cut.
Yeah, the miscut parlay, I don't see it out there, but if you can find it, I would connect Rahm, Mickelson, and Fleetwood to miss the cut. All three of those guys are terribly overrated right now, and certainly not guys I want anything to do with in this Open.
You picked Phil as your one and done like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I have seen the light, and I think that Phil, after what he did at the last major, will be sort of under a microscope and not play good golf. And Tommy, not Elite Wood, is just a terribly overrated guy who hasn't won anything.
Now,
so I don't think
he won the race to Dubai, but
let's remember who was Tim's pick to win the British Open last year, and now he's feeling all butthurt about it. Tommy, not Elite Wood.
I don't allow my personal grievances to influence myself.
Here's the thing. I think that he's conflating two completely separate things. Because you could think Rahm or Fleetwood are overrated and deserve to be a higher to-win price, but what does that have any bearing on them missing the cut? Not being elite shouldn't have a bearing on missing the cut. It has a bearing on not being T5, not winning, not playing great, but lasting to the weekend. Shouldn't have a bearing on, he's overpriced or underpriced, however you look at it, to win the tournament.
That's fair, but I think they're all going to miss the cut, so that's why I like that bet.
All right, you got anything else?
Connectedly, top lefty, Brian Harman plus 300 if Phil's going to collapse.
It's funny.
I need to take another lefty.
Like that one?
I actually looked at that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bubba, you don't want him anything to do with him in Britain, so I think Harman at plus 300 is a good bet.
All right, and that's it?
Yeah, the other part is I think it's ridiculous that Ricky Fowler, who's won nothing in his career, has got better odds than Jordan Spieth. He's shorter than Jordan Spieth, the defending champion of this and a 3-time major winner. But I guess because Jordan doesn't wear neon colors on the golf course, people don't like him as much. But the fact that he is longer odds than Ricky Fowler is risable.
Current form, scrambling.
I actually tend to agree with Tim on this one. We talked about it all over the last show. Ricky Fowler is wildly overrated, especially in the betting market. All right, Tim.
He's going to win.
Yeah, let him win something.
Yeah, let him win this then, and you'll cash in, Geoff. And you'll get back.
I won't cash in. I'll break even.
Yeah, you'll break even on all your Ricky bets over the years. All right, Tim. Thank you for being on the show.
Happy to have been here. Have a good Open Championship week, everybody.
Yes, best tournament of the year, by the way. Most fun to watch. It's on at a very good time for me. I can wake up early. I can watch it. Also, if you want to check out more Tim in longer form, both of the wide receiver and running back ranking show with Tim and Garion are up right now. So let's bid adieu to Tim ANDERCUSRED!
Tim ANDERCUSRED.
All right, enough of cuss. Let's get into this. Updated odds, props, maybe some T-splits to look at, the weather draw, which doesn't look too crazy so far. Joining Geoff and I on the line, you know him as the man that won big at the U.S. Open, telling everyone to bet Brooks Koepka. And we'll see who he's on this time around. It's Russell Whalen. You best know him as at NYC Punter on Twitter. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm actually thrilled to be here. It's the first time I've been on with both you and Geoff. So this is really a big day, and it's a start to a big week where there's not going to be a lot of sleep. There's going to be a lot of sweats going on. I've been talking to Geoff, and he says he's a little overcommitted, and I frankly might be a little overcommitted myself. But there's always room for another couple of things on the sheet, so I think that's what we're going to get into today.
All right. Well, first, I think we need you to comment on Tim made his 3 picks for the Open. So, any feel for where Tim is at these days in terms of his picks?
Oh Lord, my knees started to buckle a little bit when you said that, because nobody wants to hear their guy's name uttered in that particular sentence. But I know he has a thing for Phil, so I could see this being a Cust Phil spot.
No, he's trying to reverse curse Phil. He has said that Phil is going to miss the cut.
He actually said he's starting to see the light on Phil, which he's turncoating on him, which I think, but we know Phil wins. He'd pretend that he never said that.
Well, he's using the reverse curse to his advantage. Now, his 3 picks, Russ, were Jimmy Walker, Jordan Spieth, and Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Wow. They went out a little bit out of left field there, but I guess Ryan Baroff's not going to be too happy to hear the name Fitz uttered, so we can cross him off. Actually, and I don't know if you guys got to see Ben Coley's piece today, but I was actually happy with where Ben's head was at, because he's kind of swerving the top of the board, which is usually something that I like to do in these kind of big events. Mayo, you won't be too happy to hear that, because I know you're a DJ aficionado here, but I'm tending to, when I hear Spieth's name with Cust, I'm happy to hear that, because I'm tending to, at least for now, stay away from the real short odds and, start things a little bit lower to try to see if I can get some value.
All right, well, let's go over the updated odds very quickly. At the top, Dustin Johnson, I spoke about it on last week's show that I wanted to bet him. I didn't like 11-1 just because I knew it wasn't going to get any lower than 11-1. He's 12-1, so I've bet it now. Well, that's followed by Rory's now 18. Spieth is 20-1. Rose remains at 16. Justin Thomas is 25. John Rahm is 20. Ricky Fowler is 18, the third favorite in this tournament now. Tommy and Brooks down to 22. Sergio is at 28. What else we got here? Jason Day has fallen to 30. Stenson has fallen to 30. Phil is now 60-1. Tiger remains at 25-1. And you got Patrick Reed. He's been bumped down to 40-1. That's a better number than the 35 that we talked about last week, which is fantastic. Noren is now 28, all the way up from 40. So at the very top, there's a bit of a mismatch going on. Geoff.
I'll say this. I mean, you waited, but when you're playing a guy like DJ, 11-12 is sort of like a guy moving 35-40.
Agreed, because the amount of money that I have to put down on DJ, that's why I wanted to wait. The difference between 11 and 12, full disclosure, I'm not as big of a bettor as maybe some people like to think that I am. I put $200 on DJ. So it's an extra $200 for me if he wins.
I will say this. It is with great pause that I hear you pick DJ. I don't know that you've ever picked a front runner in a major.
I had Spieth at the Masters.
It is very rare for you to play the top of the board in a regular event, let alone a major.
Agreed.
Since we've known each other and done this. There have been a lot of people touting DJ, and as I joked on Twitter today, it makes a lot of sense, because in his last tune-up event, he ran away with it in Memphis. I see this as a tune-up event for the Canadian Open next week.
So I gotta get back on him next week when he's like 6-1 to win
No,
at
I'm
Glen
just
Abbey.
saying, this is his tune-up event for his big event next week. Just like he ran away with his tune-up event the week before the U.S. Open.
His adopted national championship, the Canadian Open.
Yeah, so I get it. And I'm seeing there've been a lot of love. A couple people who I really respect see that 12-1 and say, let's go.
Per the Fantasy National event simulator, he has double the odds of anyone else in terms of win equity this week with the way this course sets up and the way that his form is coming in. So that's me. That's why I like DJ.
I want to say one thing. It's got to be a concern. Very strange, but the turnover quick. He has not played since the U.S. Open. That doesn't bother anybody?
It bothered one guy on Twitter who messaged me,
Oh.
who said that he's never, in the times that he's taken off between the U.S. Open and played the British Open, he's never come inside the top 30. I also found out that when he eats like a half grapefruit instead of a full grapefruit, he's never won that week either. So it's really tough with these, very statistical trends.
I get it.
It's also the British fucking Open. It's hard to win.
And he has an incredible links record. Time and time again, he's shown up on the weekend at this event with, certainly thinking he can win. The top of the board, the very top. I'd rather just bet losers who've never won anything.
Russ, where are you going? Are you going to the top of the board, or do any of those odds intrigue you?
I mean, let's just look at it. I mean, all these guys, the first 9, can win this thing, and I mean, what can you do? You've got Justin Rose, you got Rory, you've got Ricky. I mean, the thing is, I can't cover all of them, so I've got to just say, and look what's happened with Tommy. Tommy's 22 now. Right after Shinnecock Hills, he was I think I was seeing 12s. They were just making him the odds on, and I've just decided, I'm going to make my bed and lay in it. If one of these guys at the top beats me, so be it. Pat, you know how I usually like to play it. I like to maybe let round 1 go by, and if I can pick up some of these guys that have just fallen a little bit off the pace and get them at a better number, then I want to get them on the card at that point. But I've got so much other interest at this point that I can't do what you did, and I appreciate that $200 bet from you because that is a big bet. And, but it's a nice payback if DJ brings it home. But I would have to lump so much onto those guys at the top of the board to make it worth my while that I can't do it.
Yeah, so for me, the next spot that I drop to, because if I'm going to take DJ and lay that on him, Russ is right. I can't be like, oh, well, now I want a piece of Sergio, and now I want a piece of Tiger, and I want a piece of Ricky Fowler. That's just impossible if you expect to walk away with anything. So my next 2 are both 40-1, and it's nowhere in its reach. That's where I have to drop to. And some people I know are starting their sheets right there. So, Geoff, where are you starting at? Ricky and Rom?
As Russ joked, I woke up this morning and realized I'm quite overexposed on this sucker. That being said, my plays at the top, I kind of used this month to do things exotically, and that was Ricky, that was Rom, and that was Fleetwood. So I've juiced them all up for the most part successfully. There's some really... I noticed the one thing I learned quickly in the juice-up game is...
I stopped doing it.
Don't get greedy and going for the 100-to-1s. Just the strict double-ups.
Yeah,
and that worked very effectively.
Yeah, if I could have juiced DJ up to even 18-1 or 20-1, I'd be much happier. I just decided, you know what? I'm going to take my money, I'm going to bet it on DJ, and that's going to be it.
But even to make that parlay on DJ, you're almost better off just 2 timesing your wager. And it seems like that is what you did. And for it, I joke, but for the month on Twitter with those soccer games and Adon's crushing it, those were my exotics. But my actual single plays don't start till, like you said, that 40-1 range. But I think it needs to be mentioned, we can't go through the top without acknowledging Justin Thomas got essentially a 9-point drift. And we joked how he was kind of Mr. Forgotten when we did that early show last week. That's showing like a sore thumb right now. People have certainly forgot about him, and a lot of it has to do with a lot of hype around his links record to begin with.
But what's his links record to begin with? It's not like he plays on the European tour. What are we just picking and choosing 3 events he's played before? He played fine in France. Who cares? And it's not saying that I'm going to bet Justin Thomas, but Russell, I talked about it, and we'll talk about it more on the DraftKings show, ownership-wise, tomorrow. It seems like Rory and Thomas are the 2 forgotten guys from the top. You were talking about, even pivoting off of them. I know that you're not betting them. Well, let's say in a DraftKings market, do those guys actually intrigue you at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I've been tracking that Justin Thomas number, and I've seen it. I'm looking at it now at 25-1. I mean, for the skill that he has, it's wrong. And it's exactly what Geoff said, which is that, there's some sort of narrative around him that he can't win on links. And to your point as well, like, what kind of track record do we really have there? So, I mean, if I was starting fresh today and I didn't have all this built up interest that we've been talking about, I would be giving that Justin Thomas number a serious look. And I don't know for DraftKings, and you may or may not be happy to know that I'm officially a Fantasy National member as of last night.
Oh!
Yes, so I am officially, because I tweeted at some point, how the heck am I going to build 100 lineups? I don't know. You know what? I'm a little bit of a slow starter when it comes to these things, but when Mayo starts posting, we're winning $1.5 million for Fantasy National members, I finally got my I finally got my bleep together, and
you can swear. No, you can swear all you want.
Yeah, I finally got my shit together, so I'm officially a Fantasy National member. So maybe I can do what some of those other guys have been doing and actually take home a big one. But as far as JT goes, I don't know about if he's going to be a big part of my lineups, but if it's going to put me opposite the field, I might have to have a certain percentage of them based off what you're saying, Pat.
Yeah, it's either Justin Thomas or Rory, I think you go to. And someone actually pointed this out to me. They said they were caddying, they were caddy at Kiowa Island. And I went back and I looked at the splits, because that's a coastal course as well. You get like weird sand, wind shifts all over the place. And Rory played really well that week. And if you go back and look at that leaderboard, it's a really British Open-y leaderboard. Like Poulter's in there. I think David Lynn came in second that year. It's just a lot of not the types of players that you would think would win a PGA championship. It's just weird guys at the top. So I don't know if that's a corollary or not, or I'm just reading into that just because. But I thought it was very interesting that I think a lot of us have not necessarily given up on Rory, but just don't love him in any one way. But I don't think that he's dead here by any means. I hear people talking about him like he's finished.
No, he's actually playing a lot better than people perceive him to be playing. He keeps giving himself chances. We've talked about it. His close losses in Europe, whether it be to Hautong or Molinari, 20 minutes into his Sunday at the Masters, I think we all thought he was going to get his Grand Slam with how fire he started that day. I believe he had a Tiger-esque in a good way, bad way performance just out of the U.S. Open where he was amazing, but he couldn't hit a putt. So
at Travelers, yeah. He came like T18.
Outside of getting blown up at the U.S. Open, I would much rather be on Rory than Justin. And I know there's blow-up potential here, and I have the numbers on Justin when we refer to it. The sample size is small, but he's played in 2 Open Championships. He's got a miscut of 53rd. He's played in 1 Alfred Dunhill Links. He's got a miscut, 1 Pebble Beach miscut. You mentioned France. It's not a links course. So that brings me back, to something else.
I mean, there was no trees on the French course. It was pretty wide open. There was fescue everywhere.
I don't know. I feel like it's a very...
We're calling Pebble Beach a links course?
I guess in many ways, yeah.
I don't know. It was just like, remember when Justin Thomas couldn't win in North America?
Well, that was silly.
But then he just won all the events?
No, I get it. He's good enough to just win. Like I said, he's the type of player... Like, they say, oh, Brooks can't win at a course with, like, so many landmines. When Brooks is in form, it doesn't matter sort of what the course is. If Justin Thomas brings his A game, and it will take someone's A game to win this thing, that's certainly the case. But I don't know. I had zero interest in betting him at 16, and I'm still not there.
Is there a number that he could get to that you would jump in? Let's say, because if he's
course.
already dropped to 25... I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. He could drop to 28 or 30.
Highly unlikely.
Russ, would you be in at 30?
Potentially, but you know what? I'm starting to look a little bit further around, and I'm thinking like we could do a show. We could do a 20 to 30 minute show on half of the guys at the top third of this board. So let's just be said, like if I miss out on JT, I miss out on JT.
Okay.
If it hits 30, I'll take some. But I think we got to move forward because, and not to try to run the show, Pat, but I mean, there's just so many guys here. I mean, what about Brooks? I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, he's my boy. Brooks could win this thing. I'm not betting him, but he's 22-1. I mean, what's to stop him from going over there and just romping all over this field?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing at all.
Nothing.
There's a lot of people on Brooks as well.
I've seen a lot of love for it. He's a guy, certainly can make the strong case. Tell you one thing he's not going to do. That's MC. Because we've seen his record.
Just bet him top to probably the safest bet on the board is Brooks top 20 at this point.
and he cut his teeth over there. So it's not like he doesn't, he knows his way around these Euro tracks, and he knows the ball flight deal. He knows the putting. He knows about riveted bunkers or whatever we're talking about. So,
and
I don't know. It's having trouble there.
And I still stand by something I preached last week. You've done what's important to you, but to me, the two most important things when playing anything right now for this week to me are current form and scrambling.
Yeah, and listen, Brooks, we saw he won the U.S. Open based on scrambling. If he wasn't able to scramble out of all those predicaments, then, he would have been gone. DJ wasn't able to do it because he couldn't make the 5-footers come Sunday. But it just where I went with DJ. I had more confidence in DJ than Brooks, so I can't just go to Brooks after taking DJ. You started with Stenson, though, right?
So, as we all do, a few weeks before these events, over a glass of something with ice in it, I started looking down the board. And for whatever reason back then, this is a few weeks ago, like Stenson just got me totally geeked up. And it was probably somewhere after Shinnecock Hills where, even though he didn't really take it deep into Sunday as a competitor, I just saw that his game was right there. Obviously we've had the elbow thing and the withdrawing from the Scottish, and that's given me pause on it. But the two guys that I kind of really lumped into early on were Sergio, because he was 40-1 at that point, and he was sneakily coming around. And Stenson, I have a big chunk of at 25. So I'm kind of heavily invested in those two guys, but I'm looking around now at we are starting to see this drift that we usually talk about, and that's going to mean that I might have to go back into my wallet again.
Everyone outside of 8 to 12 guys who are kind of popular, the guys that people are sort of hyping this week, maybe it's 14 guys, have drifted positively for the better.
The biggest mover of all was Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson jumped from 125. He's now 60-1.
Well, that's bad drift.
Yeah, that's drift the other way.
Yeah.
But
very few guys pulled that off.
Hatton got to 40 from 45.
We're seeing, it's not for me, but we're seeing Hideki having jumped to 50.
Yeah, what do you make of that? If the way that I kind of look at it, I gave a hard look to that 50-1 in terms of Hideki, but if I wasn't willing to bet it at 35, which was a fine number, which it could still be, just no one's betting it, I don't see why I'm necessarily in at 50 all of a sudden.
I can be talked into anybody right now if they've got the two things I've been talking about, form and scrambling.
He's got scrambling.
I don't, he just missed the cut in Scotland?
Did he?
I think.
Yeah, he did play in Scotland, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not there. I'll be cheering for him. Also, I don't think this is the greatest thing. There's some guys that overcome it. He's got the Tiger draw.
Oh, he's with Tiger?
Yeah, I think it's Tiger and Knox. It's a very weird spreading the love sort of.
I like how the Open has staggered these
of course,
tee times. We'll get to the tee times later.
Yeah, of course, but I think that's important. Who's playing with Tiger? That's a betting thing. So you have the Japanese media and the Tiger factor. Geez, no wonder he jumped to 50-1.
Yeah,
I joke, but I guess it's worthy of putting the odd up. It's just I'm not there. All the power to the guy if he wins.
All right, so after the top two you talked about, Russ, Sergio and Stenson. Obviously, let's say it was today and you hadn't bet on Stenson, knowing this elbow thing, which may or may not be a real thing. It's probably not. You probably just didn't want to play at the Scottish Open. But would you jump in at 30 again?
That's a great question. And before I answer that, I want to throw a question to you guys, and I will get to that. But what do you make of Molinari? Because I have been staring at him, and he popped up on Fantasy National as a bunch of different things because he's just been playing so great the last couple of weeks. But he checks those two boxes that Geoff was just talking about, which is obviously recent form. I mean, the guy's a machine out there. And Molinari scrambling, actually, he doesn't really even have to scramble these days because, his approaches are just landing, inside 15 feet on every friggin' shot. So, Molinari at 30-1, I don't want that. I don't want to have to bet that. But what do you guys make of that?
I put out a tweet this weekend that he would be one of the most fun conversations we would probably have today, and that's happening on all the pods because – God, do I wish I had whatever number was out there in winter or spring. Could only imagine what it's been. And at this number, to pick on him because literally him making a bogey feels like an endangered species right now. Him going backwards anytime. But the courses where he's been so dominant, Wentworth, Quicken Loans, John Deere, they're very different than what we're going to get this week. And I know you think like this links thing can be overrated. He's a European Tour guy. I'm not saying he has no links experience. But,
I don't think that the links
courses-
thing can be overrated. I just think that if you're looking at 2 tournaments, be like, he sucks on links, I think that's a bit extreme.
Of course. And before it was a couple more than 2. But fair enough. I'm just saying they're completely different. Like, the reason we loved him at Quicken Loans, or at least I did, because I thought it, like, comped so well to Wentworth.
Well, it's all about hitting fairways. And I think that it's going to be about hitting fairways here, too.
Well, I guess that's any tournament.
No,
He's not going...
It's not any tournament. You could have missed the fairway all you wanted at the John Deere Classic.
Sorry, I meant, like, any major for the most part.
You don't have to hit the fairway at Augusta.
Okay, fine.
You don't have to hit it at St. Andrews.
Any
Because there is no
Open
rough.
Championship. Well, yes, fine, you're right. There is no rough at St. Andrews. It's an intriguing conversation at 30. I mean, his recent finishes, you include BMW, Italy, even at what, a 25th or 26th at the U.S. Open?
Mm-hmm.
And then back in wins.
I'm not betting him. I don't bet Molinari. I know you guys cleaned up at Quicken Loans.
No, I'm not. I'm certainly.
But even at the 33-1, if you're giving me Noren and Reed at 40 numbers, I know Noren's down to
done.
28. I'd rather take those 2 guys.
And I actually want to say one quick thing before Russell gets to Stenson, to his other guy in Sergio. Will Hill's offering super boosts. You can use them 3 times during the lead up to the Open Championship. They've got Sergio at 28. I could super boost him to 38.5. And that's back to where that number, like, it's not the 40, but it's essentially that number that we were spent our whole Christmas show, like, saying Carnoustie Revenge. And that is my final exposure. And I got in there pretty hard today. And even though I dissed him a bit last week, that we're seeing a lot of big numbers when it matters, like being 1 stroke off the lead in Ireland and triple bogeying the first hole was like epically old Sergio.
Wasn't that Rom? You're talking about France.
France, somewhere, yeah, France.
Yeah.
Rom triple bogeyed another hole in Ireland. Oh, he triple bogeyed, I think, a hole, both in France and Ireland. So yeah, I'm riding this Carnoustie Sergio. He's in a happy place. Let's get it. Totally.
So you're in on Sergio and Stenson. So what about Molinari intrigues you the most besides the stats, Russ?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily like what intrigued me. It was just like what to do with them. And I guess wrapped up inside the Molinari question is like, how do you guys feel about this whole narrative that guys should be playing links events running up to the Open if they hope to contend? Like I've just read that a number of times so it's like Molinari was hanging out in the US. Why didn't he play? I thought why didn't he play in France narrative was obviously overblown because he then went on ahead and won over here. But Pat, like, what do you make of that? Like, you should be cutting your teeth on the links like a couple of weeks before just to get acclimated so that you can go on ahead and give a decent performance in the British Open.
I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. Last year Jordan Spieth won the Travelers, didn't play till the British Open and won that.
Yeah, and I certainly hope it doesn't matter because a lot of the guys that I've backed were not participating in some of these other links events. So I really hope it means nothing. As far as Molinari, I'm going to have to leave him off. But like I said, if he's 1 or 2 off the pace, and not 1 or 2, I mean, it's going to have to be more than that. But if I can, I don't know. I mean, if he's even in the mix, are we going to see a better number than 30-1? So I don't know. If that drifts a little further, I might have to get a piece of it. But I have to be like Geoff right now. I have to be really tight with my exposure at this point, just because if it doesn't go my way, I can get completely wiped out.
What do you make of Reed and Noren, both the guys that Geoff and I are on?
Yeah, so I got on Reed, like I literally was about to text that I jumped on. Oh no, I think it was Knox. Like Geoff and I tend to think quite a bit alike. Like if we see a guy sort of flashing some form in the event that's on the Golf Channel at the moment, we'll kind of quickly scramble over to the computer and say, like,
one second. Does that mean you guys have blown a whole lot of money on Charlie Hoffman over the years? He turned on Golf Channel, birdie. He's also in that Tiger group, by the way. Or no,
for first round leader, yeah. But hey, and don't discount Charlie. Charlie could have a good week this week.
Charlie played pretty well in Scotland, and he's one of the few. Like, he's going to hit every fairway. He's going to ball strike it.
He could definitely flash, and he could definitely do something silly in round one like he's known to do. So Pat, when you get to your first round leader card, you might want to check, see what's up with Seehoff. But back to Reed and Noren. So Reed came out of the box this past week at the Scottish, and he was like 6 under real quick. And I threw some of them on. Geoff, I don't know if you had him before that or if you kind of jumped on right around then, but I plunked down some cash on Reed only because I said, he won the Masters. He was right there making a run at it at Shinnecock Hills. Like, if this guy's playing his A game, what's to keep him from just being there at the end on this one? So I've got Reed. And as far as Noren goes, I'm a huge Noren guy. But and sometimes I'm a little bit, of a slave to history. But I went back to see if anybody's won the French Open and the British Open in the same year. And obviously that could get totally blown out of the water. But I went back like 30 or 40 years and it's never happened. So when you got to just pick and choose a little bit, I had to leave Noren off this time.
I love them both. They are actually my two most exposed players. I am in so very hard on both of them.
All right, well, let's talk about Bryson. Bryson withdrew from the John Deere Classic with a shoulder injury. He flew to Denver to get it checked out, and because it's golf, they don't need to tell us what's going on, so they didn't. Then he flew back to the John Deere Classic to get the charter to go to Scotland. Tony Finau, also after being in Utah, flew over to France, played a practice round at the Ryder Cup course, and then flew to Scotland after the fact. But those two guys have seen their numbers drift. 100 on Bet365 for Bryson, 125 on Bodog. That's up from 70 last week, and Finau's now down to 90 to 1. What do you like? You're still in on Bryson at the bigger number?
Okay, firstly, should I tell about my stock brokering this morning? So, like, Pat might have think I was in trouble this morning.
I didn't know what was going on
because I text him first thing in the morning, do you have a minute? I got to talk to you. So I can only imagine how you inferred that, but Pat made the Bryson bet for me on 365 because, all my friends in Canada, everyone's got a 365 account. I've been kicked off. I've been teasing that story for years, but I have no difficulty using or accessing the site because it is the best site, and everyone I know essentially has an account. The number drifted hard, obviously with the injury. And I said, Pat, what are they offering me on a cash out? So they were offering, 68%, 70% of the bet?
I believe it was 71% of the bet.
So they offered me 71% of the bet on the cash out. And I cashed it out in full and then used that funds to then bet it at 125 to 1. And I came out in a much better position than I was. I did have to eat a little bit of a loss. I'm not, my single bets, I don't think as hard as Russell, but they're probably harder than most people's.
Well, with the number that you had and the bet that you had at the earlier number, just by betting whatever the cash out was on the 125 ended up being more.
Yes. So it was a smart trading move by me early this morning on a Monday, ready to go for the Open. And I would like to make this claim, a customer service rep. It must be a very limited amount of you out there, if anybody. But I was so Bryson training on our show last week. That must have dropped. What time did that show drop? I
released it the next day. So we filmed it on a Thursday. It got released 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday.
Okay.
So he had withdrawn by then.
It had withdrawn by then. So nobody had listened to it?
No.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say, I'll reward, if you show me a Bryson bet made between 1 and the time of withdrawal on Thursday, I will give you a present. But you're saying the show wasn't even out for that to happen. Okay, so I don't have to live up to that. And Bryson 125, I got to go. So I got to be in.
Russ, did the injury scare you with him? Or were you even on him to begin with?
I wasn't on him at the lower number. I mean, if he gets up here and, I see him on the practice range or something and, it doesn't look like an issue, I might get a piece of that. That did look like a rather serious injury. That wasn't like Stenson where I don't want to play this fucking event, so I'm claiming that I have an elbow and going home to hang out with my kids for a week. Bryson, he was seriously injured. I saw the post-round interview with him. Not seriously, but it was enough to get him out of that tournament. So, let me keep an eye on it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily move the needle for me at this time, but if Geoff's on it, when I hear Geoff get excited about something like that, I have to give it a serious thought.
I am concerned, though. I mean, I was already committed, so I have to, like, you're going to raise that number on me almost like 80%, like from 70 to 125. I mean, I'm bad at math. Ask my grade 9 teacher. But I like had to, but I am concerned. It doesn't look like Stenson. I've already seen stuff from Stenson. To go back to it briefly, I don't know. He looked like he was smiling, like, showing off his cleats. Like I'm not saying he's not hurt, but it doesn't seem like a big issue. And I think the number shows that, like, if people actually thought he was hurt, he could drifted higher into the 30s, and I don't think that we see that. This is concerning for me for Bryson because it's all like there is no wiggle room for Bryson. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's all an exact.
He's a
plane.
machine.
Yeah.
If the computer board gets a grain of sand in it, it's all thrown out of whack.
Exactly. So I'm not gonna lie, it is very concerning, and he finds his way into like my single plays. He gets downgraded into like the bombs because he's now 125 and I don't have the confidence I did. But when we recorded that show last week statistically, and I thought he was going to have a banger of a John Deere Open and that thing was going to... I thought he would be tailing Molinari on the leaderboard. Like, that's what I was expecting. I think how most people drafted their DraftKings lineups last week probably were expecting that from Bryson. The one tricky thing that you wish we could have found out how serious it was is if he was like 5 under when he got hurt. Because it's easy when you're 3 over and you feel a tickle or something wrong with a major next week to be like, I'm done. And I saw what Russell saw. It was a big bandage and extreme precaution in that post-round interview. But he said, like, there's no way. It doesn't seem like there's any way in hell he's not going to tee off Monday. No. He might tee off and walk off, but he's teeing off on Monday. It all concerns me.
DraftKings-wise, Russ, would you avoid him because of that potential?
No. Now, when it comes to DraftKings, I think I want to be on him to some extent. Not like completely overweight, but if I'm going to get him and be in a low percentage area by having him, then that's going to differentiate me. Because what I'm doing is I'm going to put 100 lineups into the Millie Maker and try to be on the phone with you next week, come this time. But that's like a differentiation thing. And the thing about where Geoff's head is at is Geoff's getting paid to bet on him not being hurt. If you're getting paid to not, if you're getting paid to front run that risk and take that risk on, then I'm thoroughly fine with it. So in that particular situation, you know what your risk is. You're getting paid to play. So why not have him on board?
In terms of DraftKings, like I'm thinking about just dialing back to 0 on Bryson and putting all the shares I was going to have onto Bryson. Like, yeah, he's going to be low owned, but Adam Scott's like the same price, and he's going to be super low owned too. And look, you want to talk about like Links record, Open Championship
125 to 1.
Adam Scott has been good at the British Open every year, and now he's using a cheater putter again.
And he's using Fanny. Faldo's caddy.
Faldo's caddy.
Yeah, I read this morning. He's bringing in Fanny. So, did Faldo win here? I guess maybe. No, I don't think he did. But he's got a couple jugs. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
That's not for a bet. I'm not gonna bet on either of them. But unless I find out that Bryson's just like fine, and I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, 125, let's go. But I think if head to head, like if I had to choose between a low owned guy on DraftKings, I think I would take Adam Scott.
Over Bryson
at this point. What's a bigger risk to you? That Bryson's hurt or Adam Scott just puts himself out of the tournament?
What's a bigger risk? That Bryson's hurt or that Adam Scott just has no talent anymore? Like that's really where we're at, I think. But I couldn't talk you out of either of those things, and I think it was really just a matter of time into this show before you brought Adam Scott up, Pat.
Well, I want to talk about, like, is there anyone below 50 to 1, like from the top of the board to 50 to 1 that we haven't mentioned that we're on or we do want to talk about?
I just want to reemphasize that for someone who had the outright on Hatton before the Scottish, it was a perfect Scottish Open. Played well, scrambled well, scored well, Didn't have the Sunday I wanted, but a guy shot a 60 and would have wiped him out anyway.
Yeah. For me, I'll release my final card on my Facebook page and during the chat on Wednesday. That's at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the DraftKings YouTube channel. But Casey is the only one that I'm really giving another hard look to. He's down to 40.
I also want to make one point back to Bryson. Is there anybody who's like essentially a lock, triple lock to be a Ryder Cup member getting triple digits? I mean, to me, that just is exclusively an elite. When we talk about elite players, I almost like to break it down. And if you're a Ryder Cup player, you are incredibly elite. I don't think anybody even comes close to his number who's going to Paris.
Is there anyone else for you, Russ? Like Leishman, maybe?
Yeah, I wanted to actually pick your brain about something. First of all, I am on Hatton as well. And that was, due to the Dunhill Links kind of corollary that people were bringing up. I don't know.
I actually don't think that's going to be a thing.
What thing?
I don't think that playing well at Elford Dunhill means you're going to play well here.
See,
like, the course is not going to look the same.
No, I agree. And what's interesting
not only is the setup different, but it's a completely different time of year.
Someone who we love to sort of always hype in all golf circles, I think we already mentioned him today, is Coley. And he is saying people should, he's on the complete opposite side of you in that you should almost make your own personal world, like Links world rankings. Screw like actual world rankings.
I'm not saying that Link stuff doesn't matter. I'm saying that if you have a very small sample of something, saying he's bad at something doesn't necessarily mean he is bad.
It's like the clutch,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, with Hatton, I'm already kind of regretting that bet, but he did play pretty well this weekend. But anyway, Pat, what I want to ask you is, because if you look at what Coley came out with, it kind of overlaps with a lot of the stuff that we're on. But one name on there that you usually are all over for pretty much every major that's ever come out is Brandon Grace.
If he wins, I'll be hanging myself. Because
I'm just shocked that I haven't heard his name from either one of you two.
I'm not feeling it.
I'd rather bet Noren and Grace for five shorter points.
That's the whole thing.
Noren and Reed for five shorter points.
And I think I'd rather take Casey. And I'd rather take Leishman. I just don't know what it is. I think that you're better off, and this could come back and make me look very stupid, but if you want to get some money on Brendan Grace, eat like the plus 200 and bet him top 20. I think that's a better bet than him winning.
That makes me feel better about not having him. So I just wanted to know where your head is at, because you're like a perennial Grace guy, and he did come out on Sunday last year and shot 62,
Saturday.
62, on Saturday, and I was on him. I had bet him to win. I was all pumped.
Yeah, he's been on way too many major cards for him to pop the time he finally leaves one. But like I said, I'd rather just pound when I made my bets. Reed and Noren for a few shorter points. I just couldn't get over.
Yeah, I would rather bet Leishman at 50 than Grace at 40. I don't see a big separation in their game. They're both pretty good win players. They both have Grace's short game is a little bit better than Leishman's, but Leishman's not terrible around the greens or at scrambling. He's actually quite good. And then just when it comes to pure ball striking and scoring on par fours, especially long par fours, and then you start mixing putting into the mix, Leishman's all over the place in terms of putting, but on the whole, he is a good putter. Brendan Grace, not the best putter.
Yeah. And I tweeted yesterday, there's one guy at 40 that if he goes to 50, I'm going to put him on. And now I'm seeing Leishman at 50. And I'll tell you, it won't be a big bet for me, but it'll be one of those ones at 50-1 that covers my week and makes me feel okay. It'll be a saver. It won't. I'm not going to lump large on him, but he's probably one of those guys.
Next range, the 50 to 100s. I actually don't have anyone in this range, but the only guy that I'm really eyeing is Punter at 66. Doesn't it feel like the time? Like if it's ever going to happen for him, this is the year it happens for him?
I'll agree with that part of it.
Yeah, but why can't he contend? He's been around he was around at the U.S. Open until he wasn't anymore. He has a win this year. He played well at the Scottish. Not great, but he played well. He was here at the Open Championship last year. He was very much in the mix.
I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just...
I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Russ, would you pull the trigger on Punter, or is that just a no?
Well, so I was doing my little halfway thing, waiting this weekend to get guys on at halfway, and Punter was the guy I looked to halfway through the Scottish this weekend, because I said he's kind of sitting there drafting. It looks like he can kind of make a run on Saturday and be there on Sunday, and we all know how that worked out. I think I got to leave it alone. the guy that I have the most exposure to in this area is Zach. And I got him at like 85-1 when things first came out. And my book is notoriously stingy on guys like this. I heard you say, Pat, that you saw Zach at like 125s at some point. Man, I wish I had seen that. But a guy like Zach is somebody that I usually want to have exposure to in British Open situations, not only because he's won before, just because he kind of has the game that suits this sort of style of play. And I've seen he's gone from 80, what I got 85 or 80 to down to around 66 now. So as far as the guys in this particular range, he's going to be my guy.
No one dropped harder than Zach.
No.
It feels like a common theme yearly. He'll go to John Deere, play great. He owns a Claret jug. Sunday night people are like,
Oh, yeah, Zach Johnson.
Zach, you know. But like a month ago, you're like, no, I don't like.
Okay, the biggest name on the board that I think that we need to talk about, Russ, because Jeff brought it to my attention this morning. I didn't even see it. So last week, Patrick Cantlay was 80-1 on Bet365 to win. He is now 100-1 on Bet365 to win. On Bovada and Bodog, Patrick Cantlay is 200-1. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and he was a guy I was looking at because I was doing some work in the top American market, knowing that we might get to some of those props a little later on if we have time. And I started to look at is Patrick's, he's basically a debutante, right? I mean, he's not, this is his first shot, right, at the British Open?
Yep.
And I mean, I think what you're seeing there with, reflected in those numbers is that, debutantes notoriously, have a rude awakening with regards to, what it takes to navigate these places. I mean, can he play well for a round or two? Yes. Is he going to be there in the thick of things on Sunday? I mean, I find it highly unlikely. So that to me, I'm not going to say that's a sucker bet, but I'm saying like the reason you're seeing that number drift to astronomical proportions is because the bookies basically have no fear that they're going to have to pay out any inkling of that. So for me, I mean, even though it's a big number, Cantlay's not really part of my brand anyway, so I got to leave it alone.
I'm in. I'm taking it at 200. I might do the top 10 because the top 10 number might be like 12-1, something like that. That might be the better bet, but like 200 just seems so crazy.
Seems pretty crazy.
And skill-wise, if you said, like, if Bryson's one of these guys above 100-1, that is a lock for the Ryder Cup team. Cantlay's clearly not a lock for the Ryder Cup team, but that's not to say that he won't be on it.
Yeah, I guess you could use my argument there. I'm a pro Cantlay guy. I saw that and fawned over it. I do kind of agree with Russ, especially the guys running Bodog Bovada. They're showing no fear in the back of the pack. Because like I said, outside of the 8 to 12 guys that are trending up right now, they've bumped the entire field. I mean, Cantlay there, like from 100 to 200. We'll talk about more, but Grillo went from 150 to 250. Xander from like 90 to 150. They're not afraid of any of them. It seems.
It's drift, baby. It's drift.
To Russell's point, the books are like, go for it, and it's something we kind of like. I know it's such a small sample size, but it's always easy major week to think someone in that like top 25 is going to play their best
but
golf.
I do think that, well, it obviously doesn't happen every single year. I think that the British Open has shown a track record of random long shots winning more than any other major.
That's true. And the random old guy factor.
Oh, yeah.
But Pat, to go back to Cantlay, he is a guy who can have the most glorious stats, but if there's one stat that he always shits the bed on, what is it?
It's the sand. But I talked about this with Geoff last. But here's the thing: in some of these pot bunkers, there's just no getting out of them anyway.
Yes, here's the to that.
So
point,
he's just losing the same. He's losing the same amount to the field as everyone else.
Yeah, if you're screwed, because we saw it actually happen. I think to Reed on the weekend, it took him 3 to get out. Like if you get into bunker hell,
you're in
bunker hell. Whether you're Phil Mickelson, whether you're elite bunker star or you're crappy bunker
One thing
player.
I was really impressed with at the Scottish Open was Ricky's ability to get out of some of these spots. The lift that he was able to generate, it was Phil-esque. It was amazing. But in terms of Cantlay, like if he's hitting into the bunkers, he's not winning anyway. Like
Yes.
you're praying for the glorious 4 days from Cantlay where we've seen him in stretches, and we thought when he won he had it, and even that week at Valspar when he first popped onto the scene and challenged Hadwin, and we saw it a bit at Memorial too. Like
Riviera, where he blew a 2-stroke back 9 lead.
It is, and like he collapsed a little bit down the stretch, but I'm glad that he has the swing season win. He has at the end of Memorial, at the end of Riviera, but when he's rolling, he's not hitting it in the bunker. He's striping it down the middle of the fairway every single time, and he's giving himself a chance to score. And in bad conditions, I don't know, but like when you look at Memorial and you look at something like Valspar, those are places where you need to hit the fairway, and that's going to be critical here this week too. So I'm willing to take the shot at 200 to 1. It just seems like put it this way: I'm going to bet Luke List because it's Luke List, but in no world should Luke List be 125 to 1 and Cantlay be 200 to 1. Like let's be real here.
Hey, Luke List actually represented this past weekend, and I was trying to fade him in a couple of matchups on the weekend, and I got my ass handed to me. So I actually had a newfound respect for Luke List, especially with what he did on a links course. So that's something where you might be able to twist my arm on that one. But as far as Cantlay as a debutant, and knowing that there's really no margin for error here if you want to win this tournament, I mean, all it takes is one momentary lapse of reason, and your tournament is gone. And, if that means, dicking around in a bunker or, I mean, obviously he's going to find the fairway as much as possible, but he just doesn't know. He doesn't have the ins and outs in his head like that. And that's why I've steered towards a lot of guys that might have the experience factor, Pat. It's just this Carnoustie thing. It twists one way, it twists another way. I mean, local knowledge is key. I just, that's what puts me off Cantlay.
All right, so from the plus 100 section, guys, because there's not a lot between 50 and 100. So if we're looking at these guys that are absolute bombs, Russ, have you taken any of these? Because I know that you're big on these are the guys that can win. And once you get past that, don't waste your money. Now, of course, I'm not like that.
And Russell, anytime I run a name, it's so easy for me to get enamored with a guy that's playing well, but it always comes back to that simple 3 words. Can he win? At least, for the premise of outrights. You want to play your 20s and 10s? Can he win?
Do you have anyone from up here?
Well, and I mean, Geoff just nailed it. And the thing is, because I don't get each way betting, and I think when I say I don't get it, I mean, I'm not offered each way, right? So, Pat, sometimes when you and I will have a conversation on Twitter, we'll be thinking from different mindsets because, like, you'll pick up a guy at halfway and you just need him to T7 or T5 or whatever. When I'm putting my card together, I really need guys that can be in the mix to at least offer me some hedge equity so that, after day one, I'm not completely blown out of the water, So anyway, to answer your question, I really haven't gotten too deeply involved in these guys quite yet. But as this drift starts to occur in the next couple of days, these numbers, like these guys that are 100 right now, are going to be 150 before tees. And some of these guys at 150 will be 2. I mean, the drift that's going to occur in this segment of the board is going to be surreal. So I kind of just want to, it's like kind of like don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes kind of thing, and just give it a little while to develop. Hao Tong Lee Hao Tong, I always get that mixed up, but I mean, he's a guy that, we've seen, he shot a 60 round on either Saturday or Sunday last year. He's been a Euro Tour player. Geoff and I were talking about him. He's a guy I might look at.
His links results are fantastic. Strictly links results.
Yeah, he played well last week too.
Yeah. And don't laugh. I mean, I got to see where Charlie ended up on the weekend. But if you're doing your T20s and T10s, I mean, Charlie had some good things to say about how he never really showed up prior to the Open to play, but he was really glad that he went into the Scottish and did play. And he feels like it's going to lead to a much better performance coming up this week.
This is exactly if Charlie at the Masters every year he's the first round leader. He's contending at the U.S. Open until we get off like early round coverage. We get into it. It seems like if there was one that Charlie was ever going to win, it would be the British Open.
I mean, I just had to stop right there because like my mind froze up. Can you imagine if that happened? And I mean, if it happened at like 150 to 1 and I wasn't on it, I mean, you might not hear from me for a while. So I have to look at that number. Now, who I'm scanning around for, Pat, is Stuart Sink, who you've got on board a couple of different times. And Ben put him on today. Where's he at? I don't even see him right
250.
He's down to 250?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh shit! I got him at 400 and 300.
At least what
Wow.
I'm looking at is a 250.
I'm just Sink 250 on Bodog, and Paul, what was he on 365?
I see 175 right here. So, Jeff, what do you think-
Wow! We've killed
what
the
do you
we've
think
killed the
about
market
those?
on Stuart Sink.
I congratulated Pat on his bets for a month and a half on Stu Manji and stood on the sidelines, so I don't think I can get in now. But just to emphasize it, you said 175. Will Hill's posting 125, so it just keeps getting lower and lower.
He might. This is going to be the hardest part, and this is where I struggle the most between like betting and DraftKings wise. That means Stuart Sink's going to be like 15% owned in the Millionaire Maker.
Oh yeah, that number.
If he has collapsed from 400 to 125 in a week, and he's 6,600, like that's where people are going, right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks to you, Pat, and then he got the bump from Ben too. I mean, all these you guys are consensus, like you guys move markets, and you better believe that he'll be, because at the price that Sink is at on DK, I think he's what, in the 7,000, like 7,200 or
No,
I don't know.
he's 66.
Oh my God! Well, forget about it. You're looking at 20. You might be at 20%, right?
I mean, well, I'll figure it out when I talk to Logan and Drew tomorrow. They're much better at these ownership projections than me, but that would just lead me to believe like Zach Johnson's going to be super chalky based on his odds versus price. Stuart Sink's going to be surrounded. Maybe people go to like, where's Sink at here? He's right here. Like Austin Cook, Kelly Craft, Kim, Chez Reavie. Like these are all the guys that he's around. Like people are just going to like him more.
You want to know who's going to be a low-owned guy? Not to shift over to the DK thing. Padraig, because people were talking about Padraig last week, and he completely crapped all over himself, and I think he like MC'd like in DFL. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I wouldn't spend too much money on him, but he's a guy who no one will be on, and if he does anything, you'll be way ahead of the field in that.
I'd rather, if I was going to take like a random old dude, I'd rather take Goosen.
Yeah.
You got a thing for Goosen.
The Goose is on the loose. That guy can scramble
If I can bring us back down
to reality.
No, the board a bit, because he's kind of on a poor man's Molinari run. But any love for Knox? I mean, we got the
No, I'm not
120 at
betting.
this
I'm
current
not
number.
betting Russell Knox 66-1 to win the British Open. No, thank you. That one Cantley's 200-1.
Oh, agreed.
I got him at 100 right around when you did, Jeff. So I'm on him, but I don't plan to ever see that money again.
Okay, so if we talk about Zach Johnson, right? So if that number was 100, you would bet it again, right?
Yeah, I like Zach here.
Okay, so what if you could have the poor man Zach Johnson for 1,000-1 in Ryan Armour? They do the exact same things well, just Zach Johnson does them significantly better. They're going to hit every fairway. That's not going to be a problem. They score well on par fours. They can scramble a little bit if the putter can get going. I bet Armour at the 1,000. I put like $5 on it because I thought it was funny. But I bet him top 5, top 10, top 20 on Bovada. And there's no dead heat rules on Bovada. That's why if you can find the numbers over there, they're better on other sites. But that top 20 odd, I think it was 14-1. That's actually one of my favorite bets, is the Ryan Armour top 20, 14-1. I think he has the sort of game that can translate here. No one's going to be thinking about him, but just like skill-wise, he fits that same mold as Molinari, as Zach Johnson. They're just going to hit fairways. They're going to hit greens in regulation. Can they make a few putts? Like I don't expect him to win, and hell, he will probably miss the cut. But I think the way that he sets up for 1,000-1, why not?
Oh, that got me good. 1,000-1. I'm not gonna. What's the point of throwing shade on 1,000-1? It's 1,000-1. How much DraftKings do you have, Ryan Armour?
Probably not a ton. Like I'll have some, but like there's that range right there. Like I was just talking about, Sink is there, Armour is there. I'm trying not to play too much Siwoo, if any at all, but you know it's me, so I can't help myself. But like Ryan Moore's right there at 160. Like, I think that Ryan Moore is a kind of a good fit, and people will look at how he finished at John Deere and be like, well, if you can't even win at John Deere, how could he do anything at the Open Championship? And like, Ryan Moore's fine. He's another guy. It's the same sort of mold as Zach Johnson. Like, fairways, greens and regulation, can you make a putt?
You know, as far as if we're still talking Armour here, I mean, I like him. You know, I don't get offered those kind of numbers, though. I think, like, basically my guys kind of stop at like 150 to 200. Anybody beyond, like, I never see these things, so it's fun to talk about them. and maybe even dream about him a little bit. But maybe I'll piggyback a buck or two on with you, Pat.
All right, so here are the 1,000 to 1 guys, by the way, that I'll probably end up having like top 20 exposure to, just because I think those are decent odds. Armour is one of them. Tani Hara coming in at 1,000 to 1, short game specialist. And like I said, anyone who smokes cigs on the course is going to have a better sense of the wind, so watch out for him. Where was it? Goosen's only 500. Brendan Steele's 500 to 1. Hadwin's 500 to 1. Pat Perez is 500 to 1, who T20'd here last time. Like, there are names down here that aren't awful. And I'm going to bet Siwoo at 300 to 1, because if I'm going to bet him every week, now I'm getting it 300 to 1. Why not?
I will not throw any shade on your Siwoo.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go nuts.
There is, like, every year it seems like we get into this set of names, like UK guys, that are supposed to be links specialists, and we should be checking them out, like Pepperell and
I think
Matthew Southgate.
Southgate is the one that I would be on.
He's getting steamed.
He is getting steamed. He's up to 125 now.
Because I think, did Ben tip him and a couple other people I saw tipping him?
But like Bjork is one of the like longer odds guys that people really seem to like. I just have no feel for it.
Andy, everybody talks about Andy, and then he, craps the bed, and then like on Saturday he shoots a 62 to sort of get in it, and then he craps again on Sunday. So it's like, Andy Sullivan. I don't know. I think you get into like a situation where I can't cover all these dudes.
No, of course not.
Yeah, that's why I like these top 20 bets, to be perfectly honest with you.
If I had to pick any...
Like, what about Ryan Fox, who's just been heating up? And if this course plays firm and fast, which right now it looks like it's going to, this could be a pitch and putt for Ryan Fox.
Be hard to go against him when he was both, he was there at the, he was in the playoff in the Irish, and then he was right there. He shot like a 60 whatever on, was it Saturday? Yeah, Saturday. He was like 7 under.
And he played well at the U.S. Open.
You're right, though. And were you guys watching the Scottish at all? And how, like, on the 18th hole, which is an elevated tee, he was driving the ball like 425 yards or something?
And I think that could be in play here this week too. With like they were saying that Dustin on one of the holes, like the 480-yard par 4 or whatever it is, there's a burn right in front of the green. Dustin drove into it off the tee.
Are we gonna have like a minus like 20 winner?
It all depends on the weather. The last time it was here, it was -7 that went to a playoff. The time before, it was +6 and went to a playoff.
Because a lot of guys that have been there for the week practicing didn't seem to get any wind.
That's fine. That's them.
No, I understand that, but they've been prepping on a course that might be a completely different course when the tournament comes.
Sure, you could go out at 1 a.m. our time, like Eastern time, and by the time the next round gets on the course at 7 a.m., it could be completely different again.
Yeah. My thing with this, and I was trying to ponder the same thing that Geoff's talking about, and I was thinking like the RNA might have this thing set up as an absolute fucking beast, because if you think about what Spieth did last year, or at least how the course was playing last year, and I know it's a completely different venue, but that thing was defenseless at certain points because there was no wind. My take on it is, just like the USGA kind of overcompensated at Shinnecock Hills this year, we might see where the RNA kind of stepped in here and said, we don't want this to be a walkover.
I don't think so, though, because I don't feel like the RNA plays that game. I don't think they care if the Open Championship winner is 22-1. Let's go back and look at the past 4 years and what the winning scores are. They're deadly below par.
And the RNA, unlike the USGA, if the wind lays down, they just put their hands up and say,
"Go nuts, boys."
There's nothing we could do. I mean, that is, we need it. It's part of it. I mean, they prefer it. But they don't try to then manipulate the course like the USGA does. At least historically, I feel like they haven't done that. They just concede that there's nothing they can do. I recall last couple times at St. Andrews, wind's been down and it's just...
It just stems the brakes.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get the good tee draw. So let's talk about the weather very briefly. How much stock are you putting into this, Russell? Just even to look at it, like I'm looking at it right now, And Thursday, it seems to progressively get more and more and more throughout the day as they go along. So local time for them, like starting at 7 a.m. when these guys get on the course, it's like 5 mile per hour. As it stands right now, this is going to change like every 3 hours when you're looking at it. That's one of the hardest parts about it. Plus, it's right on the North Sea, so even if there's no rain or wind projected, it could just pop up out of nowhere for 2 hours, like we see. But it gets progressively higher throughout the day, maxing out at like 14 in the late afternoon, which isn't all that big of a deal. And then on Friday, now we're looking at it, we got rain, gusts up to 28 in the morning, and then it's going to rain again in the afternoon. Like, do you put stock into this? Because I'm thinking, like, I don't know which side of the draw is going to be better in terms of DraftKings, but if you play 100 teams, do you think it would be wise just to play 10 with a morning draw, 10 with a PM draw, just to try to get lucky?
Don't you have to?
I mean, so my short answer is you can't even look at it right now. I hate to say it. I mean, it's almost like one of those ones where you can stay up like late, which I'm gonna, like the first 2 nights I don't sleep. And I think both Fienberg and myself are like bachelor weekend this week, so it's like, it could be just a lot of staying up late and keeping an eye on things. But honestly, Pat, like it is so changeable that these forecasts literally mean nothing, and it can change on a dime. So I as far as DraftKings goes, we always have this debate, and I think it's smart if you do some sort of hybrid, where you have like some lineups that have a mixture of the early and late, maybe some, and I don't know if you do 33%, 33%, 33%, where you have 3 different things covered, or maybe you shift a little bit towards where the mix is where you're overweight and you do only a few or a smaller percentage that is all late and all early. But honestly, for betting purposes, I think you really have to wait like right until the last minute if you want to really see if you can exploit that.
I would tend to agree, and it would not even be somewhat projectable, like you said. Like, if you're trying to look at Friday weather on like even before lock on Thursday, I would just basically try to focus on what's going on Thursday if there's no advantage. I'm expecting to play 25 lineups in the Millionaire Maker, and I'm thinking about dedicating 5 to the AM wave, 5 to the PM wave, and playing 15 that are mixed. Just that if there is something that crops up and one side just gets destroyed, I do get a chance to take advantage of it.
When you say mix, you just mean like optimal?
No, like both sides, yeah. Like I'll have my pool
like
of players. I'll pick my pool of players, and then I'll separate them into AM players and PM players. I'll make 5 lineups with all the AM players, 5 lineups with all the PM players, then make 15 with both people in the player pool.
I'll just make lineups
I think that's a good mix.
Players.
I think that's a good ratio, Pat.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know if that's sensible or not, but I don't know if like we saw like if remember the year that Stenson and Phil just got out in front of everyone because of the tee draw? Like, did we even see that coming that year? Like, was that in the forecast, or did that just happen?
I think that just happened, and I think more often than not, when everybody lumps onto one narrative, it flips, and we've seen it time and time again. I can't pull up the exact scenarios or the dates when it happened, but I think trying to figure out the weather is like trying to call a coin flip correctly like 10 times in a row. It's just not going to happen. So I really think as far as DK goes, I really want to. I know this isn't a DK show, but I tweeted something out about looking at the official world golf rankings and really doing as best as you can to have the best players possible in your lineups, because I just think in these majors, especially the British, the cream really does tend to rise to the top. And if you're getting cute trying to pick a bunch of scrubs to save salary, you're basically just shredding money. That's my take on things.
All right, props. Any props that stood out? Cust gave out one that I actually liked, was Brian Harmon, top lefty, 3-1. There was also
Who else was in that?
Bubba, Phil.
Cust is on. You guys are onto something.
You think so?
Well, I think just based on let's eliminate Bubba.
Yeah.
Just for the purposes of maybe that backfires.
We're all going to look stupid when Bubba wins, by the way. All of us. Every single person is going to look stupid. Who else is in the top lefty? Let's see here. Top lefty, top lefty, top lefty. There was a top. Okay, let me ask you this.
Oh my God.
There's a top Danish one. And it's Thoreborn minus 500 versus some amateur named Nikolai Højgaard, who in his last start won on the Nordic tour. He's an amateur, and he's the highest ranked betting wise amateur too. This is essentially a head-to-head bet, and one guy is Thorbjorn Olesen, who could win or come dead last because he's Thorbjorn Olesen, and just some guy who we know nothing about, but you're getting 3.3 to 1 in order to bet him. Like, do you almost take anyone at 3.3 to 1 against Thorbjorn Olesen, Russ?
I'll pass.
My problem is, like, Thorbjorn's a guy that I always look at the British Open as a guy that I sort of like, and I've burned so much money on him in the past. So I would probably steer clear of this one. But in a similar vein, and this is a guy I wanted to ask you guys about earlier, if you look at top South American market, it's basically Grillo. So it's Grillo versus Fabrizio Zanotti and Johnny Vegas. And Grillo is 4 to 5, which isn't a great odd, but I mean, this sort of, I'm not going to say free money, but if you wanted to bet Grillo to win the whole thing, Geoff, and I think I might have seen you tweet about him, and that's why I wanted to ask you about him.
Yeah, 250 to 1. Literally, I would need to be severely talked down from that ledge, because at 250 to 1, I think we missed his like heater of exceptional form. But I cannot resist 250. Last week we did the show. I was percolating the 150. So then you're gonna throw a 250 in my face? I got, just on my own personal principle, Russ, I had to make a move.
Like with Cantlay, I bet it 200 to 1. And I got the full 8 place each way on Bet365.
See, you're probably in a better spot. I bet it where the each way wasn't available. Take the more points, but it seems prudent Grillo to finish like 6th.
Yeah, do you like him too?
The thing is, he's so not a part of my brand, but when you guys start getting into him and I see like a triple-digit number there, I mean, I might have to take him, but I was just looking at this top South American market as maybe a fun way to try to get involved in him, especially if these other two, I mean, Johnny Vegas, I mean, come on. And I'm not even sure I know who Fabrizio Zanotti is. I may have heard his name.
He is I believe he is the Peruvian prince. I don't know if he's from Peru or not. Uruguay, maybe?
I say that jokingly because, I do dabble in the Euro Tour, but I wouldn't know him as intimately as a guy like Baroff might. But I don't know. If we're talking props, that could be an interesting one, because you're not really laying too much on Emiliano to try to take something home. It's basically a 3-ball.
That was one of them that I had a star beside. That's something I was going to bring up.
He is the Paraguayan prince, Fabrizio Zanotti.
Just sort of on the fact that, I mean, I am picking him to win versus Johnny Vegas.
The other one I really liked was top Belgian. I like Coulthard more than I like Peters.
Obviously.
And now the Peters market dropped out because he had a good week, which is great. Yeah. And Coulthard went up. That is, where is it? Top
125 for Coulthard.
Yeah,
right?
plus 125 in a head-to-head against Peters. I like that.
Yeah.
I like Coulthard this week. You want to talk about guys that are good on links? He's a good links player.
Quickly, your guy that you could be onto something, that's the head-to-head with
he's the top
am. He's top am.
Yeah.
Odds. So, I don't know. Sometimes we see those guys show up. I'm a sucker for a little juice. I think top senior isn't... I'd lay the 80 cents with Langer. So it's Langer minus 188, Lehman plus 333, Calcavecchia 7 to 1. How old is Calcavecchia? He has to be 60-something. Actually, no, he couldn't be, because then he would be at 59 maybe. Sandy Lyle, 14 to 1. Todd Hamilton. I look at it as a 2-ball between Lehman and Langer.
Huh?
I mean, I was Geoff and I were DMing last night, and Langer's name actually came up because he's another one who anchors the hell out of his putter. And I don't know if everybody just looks the other way because he's like such a god. But I mean, I cannot get involved in this market, so I'll just leave this one to you guys. But I do have one after this to throw out again.
Mark Calcavecchia is 58, by the way. Langer might be too. Okay, what's the one you wanted to throw out?
So Pat, what I was thinking about was, if you look at the top American market, obviously it's a landmine with so many great players, but it gives you a chance to kind of narrow the field down if you do like Stu Cink, because he's getting 66 to 1 in the top American market. So, I mean, if you actually like him to win, and you're throwing 66 to 1 in my face just to beat like basically a condensed field, half of these guys he's better than anyway, at least on links, that might be a value play.
Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. I think I'd rather take the top 20 market and bet that at like 7 to 1, because then he doesn't have to beat like Dustin or Ricky or anything like that. He just needs to get there and kind of stick around and not make too much noise.
That's fair enough. I was looking at stuff this morning, and that kind of popped for me. And Zach is also there, and Zach is 25-1. And again, I guess what I'm saying is if you see certain guys that you think have a shot of winning, and you're able to get them in a condensed field at a decent price, it might be worth having a look.
Zach's 11-1 to be top former winner.
Really?
I guess if you're on that,
Yeah.
side
It's
playing Zach.
Rory Spieth, Stenson, Tiger, Phil, Zach.
And Sink is there too.
That's probably the better Sink bet, to tell you the truth. 28-1.
I had that checked off.
Yeah, top former winner.
Did Louis
And
withdraw
Zach
last
too.
week?
I wrote down Zach and Sink, so that's funny. You guys kind of read my mind.
Louis. I mean, we're in Europe, so maybe he can win.
Any Michael Kim love? Does he just keep it rolling? Just storm through the British Open field? Because his performance at the John Deere was impressive.
Yeah, but remember Bryson last year?
Yeah.
And we all got geeked up. He was on the charter, and then he beat like a hasty exit. I think the problem is you're coming off the thrill of a first-time winner, and you're jumping on that charter, but you're mentally not prepared for the challenge that's in front of you. So I think while the narrative sounds good, Pat, I don't know if it's worth throwing dollars at.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Bryson ended up triple bogeying the first hole last year because I remember.
I know, and we were all on him.
Oh yeah, of course we were. So those were the props. Finally, what I'd like to talk about is the quick picks. Let's just recap a little bit of what we're up to here. So for me, I'm on DJ at 12-1. I'm on Reed and Noren, both at 40-1. I have nothing after that. My updated cheat sheet will be out on Wednesday. That will include first round leaders, props, anything that I decided to play, I'll put on that list. Maybe some Barbasol while we're at it, because Harold Varner's going to win that, but see what his odds are.
What are his odds?
I don't know.
Is he the favorite?
I don't know if they've
Is
come
he
out
the best
yet.
player in the field?
I don't know. How much do you think I've been studying the fucking Barbasol?
Maybe you knew if there's a really good player in the field.
After that, I went with List at 125, Willett at 150, because I gotta do it. I'm getting in.
Another solid week.
His
He
odds
played
dropped.
fine.
I'm in on that. I got Griot and Cantlay at 200, Sink at 400, Siwoo at 300, and Ryan Armour at 1,000-1. And those are just more for fun. I wouldn't even really recommend playing those. Those are just my peace of mind bets. But realistically, DJ, Noren, Reed. Those are the guys that I'm concentrating on.
The best part about anyone who bets, if you bet DJ and you win with DJ, is getting your risk back.
Yeah.
It's almost as good as winning the bet. like getting that big risk back that you have to lay out.
Geoff, recap for us.
Okay, Geoff's overexposure tour. Let's just be honest. As we sort of discovered last week, as we played our way through this sucker, Pat, this kind of feels like I'm doing a disservice because it feels like Russell kind of joked, I got the house all to myself this weekend and I'm making it all about me. And with that, my card is really Geoff's favorite golfers. It's kind of sad, come to think of it. Anyways, moving along, my three exotics that I have in the 32 to 38-40 range are Ricky, Rahm, and Tommy. And that probably covers the amount that you had to put on Dustin Johnson. Singles, hard, each of them. Reed, Noren, Sergio, Hatton.
Okay.
That is the middle range that I've crushed. That is sort of the range where our two major champions this year have come from. That sort of area of that second, I don't know, it's unfair to call.
Those are the quick picks.
Sorry, there's nothing I can do quick. Bombs, these are all triple digits. I guess Knox is Foss because his number's been cut in half. But Will at 200, Grillo 250, Cantley 200. And I'm beholden to it, that Bryson at 125. So overexposure in a big way.
I'm going to try to narrow down Leishman and Poulter, too. Those are my mid-range guys that I want to give more consideration to. Russ, who are you on?
Yeah, Geoff, that was quite a list, and that doesn't even count those last couple of crazy ones we're going to do Wednesday night when we start getting all geeked up for it. But
I'm done.
let me run it through. I'll try to run it through in a true quick pick style. I got Zach at 80. I've lumped large on Stenson at 25, which I may end up regretting. I've got Hatton at 45. I've got massive amounts of Sergio at 40, just because I knew that number was wrong. I've got a saver on Phil at around 60-1. I've got Reed at 38, and I've got Knox at 100.
I like it. All right. That means it's time for the one and done picks of the week. Large purse. It's a major. I think it's the least amount of money you can win out of all the majors in terms of overall prize. I will go first. I'm picking Dustin Johnson. I have not used him yet. Tim is picking Matthew Fitzpatrick as his one and done. Smart move in a major, by the way. Use the guys not near the top. Russ, how are you doing in the one and done anyway?
So my 3 NYC punter teams aren't doing too great, but I went in on a team with my boy Corey. Shout out to Corey. It's Van Punter. And I think we're like in the 50th spot. So we're making up some ground. And I think if we have a big result this week, we can kind of jump up pretty big. So I still haven't decided, but it'll be one of Sergio or Zach for my one and done.
All right, for the show, make a pick.
Zach Johnson.
Zach Johnson. Geoff.
You have no idea how much I wish my balls were big enough to say Danny Willett.
Do it.
But I won't.
Oh.
Patrick Reed.
Patrick,
big game hunter.
I feel like you've used Patrick Reed.
I haven't, but we can check it.
All right.
Because I actually looked through it.
All right, that'll do it for the Pat Mayo experience. Props, bets, picks, one and done, everything. We'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow for the DraftKings ownership show. I'll be back Wednesday with a live chat with Reed Fowler. And Friday, you and I, sir, maybe we'll get some guests on the line. Who knows? We usually get Cust on. He might be unavailable. Russ, what are you doing on Friday?
But watching basically every shot of the British Open that I can get in me.
Yeah, see, that's what we're going to be doing, but we're going to be doing it live on Friday, and I'll tweet at a time either on Wednesday or on Thursday. The last tee time is at 11:16 a.m. Eastern time, which means I'm guessing like 1 o'clock.
Well, what time does that group finish, would you think?
Well, that's what I'm trying to guess.
Yeah.
I watched the last Cut Sweat show, so if you guys wanted to fire me up on the horn, and I'll chat with you, man. That was so much fun, so let's do it.
So far on the Cut Sweat show, I've lost a $2,000 winner because Jason Duffner put it in the water at Augusta. And then we just got to sit through John Rahm missing, but Tim's pick to win, Jordan Spieth, missing that putt on 18, really just made everything so much better. It's fun. Just like we can't really get involved in the chat because the chat is ahead of what we're watching on the TV, so that's tough. So we don't want it spoiled for us while we're watching it, but it's a fun place to kind of go hang out. You were in the chat last time, right, Russ?
No, but I was basically watching and tweeting at you guys. But I usually don't go into the chat because there's just so much going on, and I know you probably can't read half of it anyway. So I figure why bother.
All right, my betting cheat sheet will be out Wednesday on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thepme. I will update my DraftKings cheat sheet after doing the ownership show tomorrow for pivot plays, high ownership, low ownership. And maybe I want to reassess my picks a little bit because I just updated my power rankings from Fantasy National. I do think that everyone should become a member of FantasyNational.com. What are your early impressions of the site?
I honestly, Pat, I quickly figured out that there is so much going on here that I went right over to the 15-minute demo that you did with Moose. And I even after those 15 minutes, I still was completely overwhelmed by what's there because you know me, I'm traditionally not a stat guy. But I think what you guys have created over there should be called like stat porn because it's like, honestly, it's just mind-boggling. And for a guy like me, I just need to know how to kind of make sense of it and make it gel with what I try to do, which is more of a course form and, current form kind of model. But I'm looking forward to doing more of that. And if you do some more tutorials, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, there's one. I think you looked at the one we did for like the mixed condition model. That one's really, that can help you track course history, current form. And even if you go up to like the left-hand side bar, you can pick what courses you want to include and just look at stats from those courses if you think that there are corollary courses that are around. So there's a lot you can do. You can use it as in-depth as possible or just what you want to see as possible. But it has like the lineup generator, the simulator. All those tools just make playing DraftKings so much easier. Like it just really cuts down on the amount of time. So go check that out, FantasyNational.com. Geoff Fienberg at GFienberg17. Russell Whalen at NYC Punter. Any final thoughts, Geoff?
I can't believe that Dustin Johnson's going to win this thing. One of us are going to be thrilled.
And it's going to be me?
Be me. Who would have thought that?
But I would not have thought that.
That's where we're going to be Monday.
Russ, any final thoughts?
If if DJ wins and Fienberg's not on him, we might have to go like search the prisons or go look for him at the end of a bridge or something. But I think Patrick Reed would be a popular one. I don't think we're all on something together, so that's unfortunate. So maybe in the next couple of days, let's get a family punt together so we can all root. Okay.
I think it's Reed.
Yeah, I think we're all on Reed.
Oh, Pat's on Reed. I didn't know
Yeah.
Pat was on Reed. Oh, so how about a big Patrick Reed, big game hunter win to take it down?
Let's do it. I'll sacrifice my loss in the one and done to you, Geoff. Patrick Reed can win. How about that?
That would
I'm a
be
very
big.
generous individual. All right. If you want to enter the draws for some DK bucks, if you didn't win the first time around, you still got a chance to win the second time around. Just use the hashtag on Twitter to retweet everything. No quote tweeting. Quote tweet, automatic disqualification. And I say that before, and then I still see people quote tweeting. It's ridiculous. Hashtag DKBrit2. The number 2 is the hashtag to use to separate it from the first one. If you leave an iTunes review or a Stitcher review, Google Play review, that's another way to get in. Plus, give the episode a like. Leave your DK handle in the comment section along with your single favorite prop of the week, and boom, you're in the draw too. I'll try to announce them on Wednesday's live chat show that I'm doing with Reed Fowler at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is available on demand after the fact too. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!